Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been trying to get the people of Ogoni land in Rivers State to buy into his government's plan to resume oil exploration in that area after many years of a dispute over demands for compensation for environmental degradation. There has also been the small matter of an ecological cleanup project, which is yet to pick up, even with the passage of so many deadlines. We're now being joined by Alexander Badey Suage, a former senatorial aspirant and son of Albert Suage, one of the Ogoni leaders who were murdered by Ogoni youth on the 21st of May 1994, based on what has been called trumped-up accusations over oil exploration in the Ogoni land. That case led to the arrest, trial, and summary execution of 9 Ogoni community leaders, including Ken Saro-Wiwa. He's going to talk about that train of events, as well as the rapprochement between the federal government and the Ogoni with the view of restarting oil production in the area. Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us on the morning show this morning.
Good morning.
Perfect.
Good morning.
All right, before we begin, I'd like for you to walk us through the train of events that followed after your father was murdered 29 years ago. I'd like to pay tribute to your father. Now, how do you remember that tragic incident? And also would like for you to shed some light on who your father really was before we go into talks of rapprochement between the federal government and Ogoni land.
Yeah, the circumstances that led to my father's death is as clear as yesterday, because I actually went to the scene of the crime. I got there that morning and I rescued Alhaji Kobani and Chief Pai. When I walked into the palace where they were having the meeting, the whole place there was a pool of blood all over the floor and a splatter of blood on the walls. And we managed with the security to scare away the crowd of young Ogoni men, and many women were also involved, who were trying to pull Alhaji Kobani and Pai out of the shrine where they took refuge. Having chased them away, while they were holding their leaves and chanting that they have killed the vultures, we rescued Alhaji and we left for Port Harcourt. Now, talking about my father, there's a narrative Mossop has always put forward. They always refer to them as the 4 chiefs. And that is somehow insulting to their personality, and it has become the narrative over time. You will see that my father wasn't even a chief. I never liked to be referred to as a chief. What they want the world to understand is like they were like community chiefs. They weren't. My father served in government and rose through the civil service to the peak of his career and became a secretary to government of the River State and head of service. He was a DO, what is now known as chairman of Bori local government. He was a DO in BSA local government of Cross River State. He later became a mayor of the Port Harcourt City Council, became a permanent secretary, a super permanent secretary who served in all the ministries twice, and later became chairman, Local Government Service Commission of River State, chairman, Civil Service Commission of River State, became a commissioner for information, commissioner for education, commissioner for special duties. Later on, he now became the secretary to government of the state. He is known as Mr. Albert Badey, not Chief Albert Badey. And later on, during the Babangida administration, Babangida appointed him to midwife the political process in River State as the chairman of the National Republican Convention. He went on, was announced also into the cabinet of Hofre Owusu for NEC in those days. And once his name was announced, Saro-Wiwa's thugs, the NICOP thugs, threatened to burn down our house in the community, threatened his life, and for peace to reign, he refused to take that appointment. Other things followed. He was to become the deputy governor of River State. Saro-Wiwa wrote with his letterhead to the governor then, telling them that Mossop must decide who will be deputy from the Ogoni stock. And why was he taken? It was because of his wealth of experience. But Sarua didn't want that. Sarua wanted to be the numero uno of Ogoni land. He wanted to be the one who decides all. And he submitted his cousin's name, Simeon Idemio, and another cousin of his from the same community, Barikai Damkwe. And the third name he submitted, which of course he was just not being true to the person, was Bishop J.B. Paramount from our local government. So that's the bit I can tell you about my father. But if I want to go further, I can also let you know that Chief Edward Kobani, he was a traditional chief of the community, well-respected, but a very educated man, one of the 4 that was killed. He was also a commissioner under the DHSP administration. They want people to think that he was just a mere chief in the community. No, he was an intellectual. And in fact, a pioneer member of Mossop, those who brought about Mossop, along with Garrick Layton. Ken Sarah was only a public relations officer for Mossop. And of course, we all know the power of public relations officers. They are the ones that communicate with the media, they reach out to the people, and are the face of the organization. He used that to usurp the organization, hijacked it, and at the end of the day, defamed his colleagues, and which led to their death. Same for Samuel Orage and Theophilus Orage. Samuel Orage was also a commissioner in the early times in Rivers State, and also an administrator in the university. His brother Theophilus Orage was a member of the Gokana Council of Chiefs at that time. So these were responsible men who had ironclad values of honesty, empathy, integrity, and loyalty to the people of Ogoni. I think in a nutshell, I've been able to tell you
absolutely
all about the Ogoni 4.
Absolutely. Thank you so very much indeed. I mean, each time I listen to your interview, I still, I still hear in your voice, the sorrow, the deep, how deep that incident of more than 30 years ago was, particularly given the fact that you were there, when that thing happened. But of course, that the narrative that is out there has always been that the Ogoni 9 were sacrificed because the Ogoni 4 were betrayers. You have explained in detail, and I'm not trying to whip up, old sentiments and all. I'm interested in what your thoughts are regarding the rapprochement that the federal government now wants to bring on board, with the people of Ogoni towards the resumption of drilling of oil. But I see that it looks to me like the division within Ogoni land still runs very deep. Yesterday, we had in the studio Fegalo Nsuke, who, as you know, is the president of Mossop. And the narrative is still the same. What will be the position of your own camp, if there is a word like that, regarding what the federal government is trying to do? Do you think that oil drilling can resume in Ogoni land? And what will you, have you even been invited to the committee that is meeting with the National Security Advisor, Nuhu Ribadu, whom President Tinubu has chosen to lead the discussions to get things going back as far as oil is concerned in Ogoni land?
Well, before I go into your question, you said something about the narrative.
Yes.
I have a book here written by Ken Sarowa's younger brother, Owen Swewa. It's laced with a tissue of lies, in fact, a plethora of lies. But unwittingly, he revealed a lot of truths. At some point in this book, okay, let me leave that so that since maybe we don't have enough time, I will go back to that. Now, coming back to the issue, your question. I wasn't invited, and that was really funny. The man behind the scene who masked himself as a leader, trying to bring peace to Ogoni, thought it wise that I shouldn't be there. However, I'm comfortable with the fact that Kenneth Kobani, who is the son of one of the murdered Ogoni 4, and Tom Orage were there. That is enough for me. I don't need to be there. Because I know if there's a charade, they will stand up against it. Now, what is happening in Ogoni is a very serious matter. Ogoni is still very, very tensed. And the federal government needs to be very careful in handling Ogoni. The guy who was with you yesterday, Fegalo Nsuke, has always proclaimed that he's the president of Mossop. Ogoni is divided. And that's the legacy of Ken Saro-Wiwa, divisive leadership. It will interest you to know that in Ogoni, we have 4 Mossop presidents. In fact, now 5, because one pastor, Festus Legbara, introduced himself as a Mossop president recently. We have Professor Anda Wayogusu. We have Chief Prince Bira. We have Fegalo Nsuke, and then Lazarus Tamana. All these are Mossop presidents. You have not talked about the ones in diaspora. We have Puine in the United States, and we have one in the UK, probably. Now, how can you achieve this process of oil resumption if the people are not together? Just as you have 5 Mossop presidents, also we have 5 NICOP presidents. And I can go on with their list, just as I did for the presidents of Mossop. And they work at cross purposes. Nobody is listening to the other. So we have a very serious situation in Ogoni. So the first step for those who are saddled with this responsibility to bring peace to Ogoni should look at this issue first before talking about oil resumption. We should have one Mossop president that everybody listens to. That is key. Number 2, we must reconcile the divide in Ogoni. We have supporters of the Ogoni 4, and we also have supporters of the Ogoni 9. This must be addressed. Bring them together in such a manner that they can now embrace themselves and move forward.
All right.
Then, in bringing about that reconciliation, the Ogonis, and Mossop in particular, must admit to the fratricide that led to the killing of the 4 and render a public apology to the families of the 4 while returning the remains of the 4, because till this moment, we have not laid them to rest. Okay, if we can achieve that,
all right,
that erases calls for exoneration.
All right, Mr. Alexander.
Which is very important. The calls for exoneration is at the,
Mr. Alexander, I wish we had more time for you on this segment. And,
is it over?
I wish we had more time to elaborate more on your points on the Ogoni issue, which is a very, very sensitive subject. I would like to invite you again to continue on this conversation, and we will continue to follow up on the stories. May the Ogoni 4, may their souls continue to rest in peace, and we hope to get you in again. I would like to thank you very much for joining us on the morning show this morning.